We welcome to the show, Chris Kamara. How's it going?
Oh, real good. Thank you. Yeah, I'm back doing football and still singing Christmas songs, so everything is good.
Yeah, so what can you tell us about those albums? As you say, they were a couple of years ago, but it must have been a great experience doing them.
Oh, it was incredible. 2019 and the Silver Screen Records, Adam Greenup, decided that my voice would be good enough to sing with a 22-piece big band and a conductor. And it was daunting when I went to the Angel Studios in London. But I sang with them, and it's one of the best things that I've done.
Yeah, as you say, with an orchestra, it must be quite an experience.
Well, there's so many talented musicians who've never had that honor. And I got it, at the first attempt, really. And it was amazing. I was half an hour late. My train got stuck at Peterborough. And I'm thinking, oh, please, God, let me get there for 10. And I turned up at 20 to 11. These are musicians who play the Royal Albert Hall, the Prague Philharmonic, and I absolutely, totally play with the biggest and best singers in the world. And I've kept them waiting 40 minutes. And I stood up and I'd never been in front of an orchestra ready to sing. And the sound was absolutely deafening. And so the conductor pointed his baton towards me, and I couldn't really hear what was going on. I could hear the music really loud, and he stopped it all straight away. And he said, Mr. Kamara, when I point the button towards you, that's your cue to sing. So I said, oh, okay, sorry. I'm sorry. Anyway, I looked round the musicians, and not one of them had their head up so I could make any sort of eye contact with them. So I'm feeling the worst now. Anyway, we start again. He points the button towards me. I kick in with Let It Snow, and we went all the way through it. And then they looked up from their instruments, and that was my seal of approval that I did okay.
Yeah, and have you always been into music? Are you a big fan of music?
Yeah, absolutely. I sang the official England song for 2010. You see, my music doesn't get played by the radio station. That's why the Silver Screen Records sent out a memo to a lot of stations saying, would you play this album? The arrangement is better than anything you can imagine. I've listened to Buble with the orchestra, and it is, I'm telling you now, 30% better, the arrangement. The singing isn't as good as Buble, but of course, the arrangement and him with that arrangement would have been absolutely perfect. So I say to anyone, if you don't like my voice, listen to the arrangement because it's incredible, really is.
I think it sounds great, Chris. And who are some of your musical heroes?
Well, growing up, I remember being a 10-year-old and seeing Gilbert O'Sullivan on the telly singing Nothing Rhymes. And I love the piano. So I fell in love with him straight away. And then another pianist came along, and not only was he brilliant, he was a football fan. So Elton John became my hero. And I'm glad to say I've met my hero. And people always throw that quote at you: don't ever meet your heroes because you'll be disappointed. But he was everything and more than I expected him to be.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, you do hear that all the time, don't you? But there are examples of when you meet your heroes. It's a good thing, isn't it? You really enjoy it, and they live up to what you thought they would be.
Oh, absolutely. I was at Watford versus Manchester City, and I'd been telling the press officer, if Elton's at the game today, would you let me know? So that particular game, he came into the press room and he said, Elton's in the boardroom. If you go now, they've not started eating as yet. So you might be a good time to catch him. So I scurried from the press room down towards the dressing room area, just gone through the tunnel, and Brian Kidd and Pep Guardiola are coming towards me. Well, I've known Brian for a long, long time. So I said, hiya, kiddo. And he went, come here, Cammy, come here, meet Pep. So I went over, met Pep, and he said, I know who you are. I'll watch your show on a Sunday morning from time to time, goes on Sunday, and it's pretty good. So I'm thinking, oh God, all the time I would love to chat to Pep. But this moment where I'm going to see Elton, oh no. Anyway, Kiddo says we should have Cammy down to the training ground. He went, yeah, anytime you want, just come down. We'll look after you, have some lunch, watch the training. So I'm absolutely over the moon, but in my head, I've got to get to that boardroom. So I run round the pitch. Cheers, kiddo. Cheers, Pep. Run round the pitch, get to the boardroom, knock on the door, and no Elton. He's not there. Oh, God, I've missed him. He must be somewhere. He must be around somewhere. Someone's obviously taken him off. So I go into the director's box where the ladder is at Watford to the gantry. So I go in there just before I go up the steps, I can see Elton with his husband, David Furnish, at the bottom of the director's box with their two kids, pointing to where Elton used to stand as a boy. So now I'm thinking, oh God, he's with his family. I can't interrupt him or anything. Anyway, luckily enough, he turns round and he goes, Cammy, Elton John knows me. It's like, wow, he went, Cammy, come here, come and meet David and my two kids. So I went down and I'm thinking, should I ask for a photo? I can't really. And then he says, I went, to be fair, how do you know me? And he said, well, when I'm not at a Watford game, if I'm in London or Manchester or anywhere, I watched Soccer Saturday. So he said, basically, I've known you as a player, and now I know about your character on TV. And he said, even if I'm in LA, I stream Soccer Saturday and watch you on there with Jeff. So I'm delighted. And he went, you know, I think you do a great job. So now I'm in a dilemma. Do I tell him he's my hero, or does he think I'm only saying that because he's said nice things about me? So I refrained from saying that. So I said, Elton, would you mind if I had a photo? And he went, no, not at all, on one condition, that I can have a photo with you. So
Brilliant.
David Furnish, I did a selfie, and David Furnish took a picture of me and Elton together. God knows what he's done with it, whether he's still got it or not. But that's my claim to fame.
Brilliant. And of course, you mentioned Soccer Saturday and Goals on Sunday, two iconic shows. What do you think made it so special, both of those shows?
Um, well, the analysis on goals on Sunday was uh, better. I'm not just saying that because I was in contact with all the managers: Arsene Wenger, Big Sam, David Moyes, Mick McCarthy, Jose Mourinho. They would all ring me on if they had a problem on a Saturday and say, "Look, would you look at this incident for me?" And I used to do that willingly. It never swayed me if they thought they should have had a penalty. I would give my honest opinion. But that was the beauty of that show. And of course, the co-presenters, you know, Ben Shepherd, Rob McCaffrey, Claire Tomlinson, all the people I had through the years. And of course, Soccer Saturday, the atmosphere and chemistry that we all had between us. Jeff was the conductor of the orchestra, and myself, Phil Thompson, Charlie Nicholas, Paul Merson, and I've forgotten one. Matt Letizia. Did I say Tis? Yeah. So yeah, we had a great time together, and of course, I did Soccer AM for years and years. So I've had a wonderful time at Sky, and people seem to appreciate my time. Yeah.
Yeah, they still do. And of course, when people bump into you, I imagine the first thing they say is unbelievable, Jeff. Is that true?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I count the number of times in one day that it happens, and I tell the people, unfortunately, you're not the first, but you're the fifth today. But it's lovely, it's great, and it's never a chore, it's a privilege, to have people like smile when they see or say, unbelievable, Jeff. It's great.
Yeah, and with Gillette Soccer Saturday, I think what was so good about it was, as you say, you all had banter and you made it entertaining because you see a lot of other shows where they talk about the goals and who scored, etc., but they don't necessarily have that chemistry and banter.
No, not at all. We were unique. I used to work on the show before the lads came in. I worked with Jeff, George Best, God rest his soul, Rodney Marsh, Alan Mullery, Frank McClintock, Clive Allen, All those were great, but they all lived in London. So we met up on a Saturday. Well, I wouldn't even meet up on a Saturday. I'd be at a game. But in the midweek sports specials, I would be occasionally in the studio. So that chemistry that we had with Tomo and Charlie and Nurse and Lettice wasn't the same. We met up on a Friday night in a hotel in London, and Jeff would gauge our responses to the incidents that had happened the following week in football. So he's so clever. He would take that into the Saturday show and either agree with it or battle against it. And you would see Tomo and Charlie arguing with him, but in a footballing way, which was great for the viewer.
Yeah. And trying to put like a musical link to it, I do remember that Jeff used to have a James Brown like singing doll that he'd press
Yeah,
whenever
yeah,
James Brown would score.
absolutely. Yeah, James Brown playing for Hartlepool. I feel good. Yeah, yeah.
And have you been watching much of this season? What do you think of the Premier League season this year?
It's good again because it's competitive. Well, it's always competitive, but everyone expected Manchester City to run away with it, but they've not had it their own way this time. So I'm not saying they won't win it because they're still within striking distance, but it looks unlikely this year. And that monopoly being broken is good for the Premier League in terms of the competitive spirit. Mm.
Yeah, they've probably come to the end of their cycle, although you can't write them off, can you? That's the thing.
No, not at all. The thing is that people have learned to play against them, which is they hunt you down when you got the ball. But Liverpool showed by playing the ball in behind their back line to have them running back towards their own goal, uh, not for the first time, because obviously it happens intermittently, but they're not no longer penning teams in. They worked out a way to play against them. So Pep's going to have to reconfigure his tactics and see what he's got.
And what do you think of Chelsea this year?
Oh, amazing. Cole Palmer. How can you not enjoy that fella? He's absolutely brilliant. He really is a magician. I look at it, right, and people say Pep didn't want him. Well, he was worth more to Manchester City by selling him. But when did it become fashionable to sell your homegrown players to make money? This financial fair play that they've got on is absolutely crazy. If you sell a homegrown player for lots of money, that allows you to buy, well, probably players from abroad that come in. And what's happened to the homegrown talent? It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, football fans still love to see that, don't they? The homegrown players
Oh,
coming through.
absolutely. The homegrown players, I was born in Middlesbrough and it was always my ambition to play for the club. And I did it. And wearing that shirt, even though I was 35 years of age at the time when I did it, was still I could remember back to being a kid and my love of the club and the dream of walking down Ayresome Park. I know they've got a new ground these days, the Riverside, but I actually played at the old ground in '93. Yeah, in the Premier League. So it's a memory I will always cherish.
Is that one of your best memories in football?
Well, it was my ambition to play for Leeds and my dream, sorry, my ambition to play for Borough and my dream to play for Leeds. And everyone says, how can you have two teams? Well, the fella I played for on a Sunday morning had season tickets on a Saturday at Borough and Leeds. So I would alternate, but the Middlesbrough were first in the third division, and Leeds were the all-conquering team of the 70s. So I managed to get to Ellen Road and watch them. So I achieved my dream and my ambition by playing for both.
Brilliant. And you mentioned Mourinho earlier. What was he like? Did you ever get to meet him?
Oh yeah, he was brilliant. Yeah, we became good friends when he was over. Uh, the very first time I met him was the fourth round of the League Cup. I did the game from the ground and he'd seen me on Goals on Sunday. So introduced himself to me at Stamford Bridge. So from then on, if I was at Chelsea's ground, I would pop in and see him before kickoff. And then I managed to get him as a guest on Goals on Sunday, which for Sky's point of view was it was like the Messiah had arrived.
Yeah. Was this, I'm trying to remember because I do vaguely remember when he went on there, and it was when a player got sent off for Chelsea, and he was saying about how it was disproportionate that it'd been shown over and over again or whatever. I seem to remember.
No,
No?
that was the incident. No, one of the they played Chelsea versus Burnley, and uh, Ashley Barnes did a tackle on Matic of Chelsea and should have been sent off, right? And they should have had, or Jose thought they should have had, at least two penalties. So I was at Aston Villa versus Stoke, 1-1 draw. So I put the radio on in the car on the way home because I did that. I was doing goals on Sunday. So I would hear the managers talk about the incidents. So I'd flick from Talk Sport to Five Live. And then they said, well, there's a controversial game at Chelsea versus Burnley today. We're going to cross to our reporter, John Murray. So John Murray said, I've got Jose Mourinho with me. What did you think of that today, Jose? And he said, what did you think of it? And he said, well, basically, I'm the reporter. Nobody wants to know what I think. They want to know what you think. So he started the interview. Do you think you should have had two penalties? Well, do you think we should have had two penalties? So he said, Jose, look, you need to answer my question. Do you think Ashley Barnes should have been sent off? So he went, do you think Ashley Barnes should have been sent off? So John Murray was like tearing his hair out. So Jose virtually said nothing, but it was the best interview ever. So I switched over to Talk Sport, see what I could hear on there. And I'm driving from Birmingham to London in preparation for goals on Sunday. And my phone goes 20 minutes after this interview, and it comes up on the phone, Jose Mourinho. So he went, have you heard what happened at my game today? And I went, no, of course not. And he went, we should have had two penalties and they should have had a player sent off. He said, we drew one each, but I've got to nip this in the bud. The referees are not giving us any decisions. So he said, I'm coming on your show in the morning. So I went, are you sure? He went, yeah, I'll be there in the morning. So I put the phone down, rang the producer and told him that Jose was coming on. So he said, are you sure? And I said, yeah, don't forget, he rang me, not me ringing him. I said, the only bit about it, he wants me to say he should have had two penalties and Ashley Barnes should have been sent off. So I'm probably, unless the video footage shows that perfectly that he's right, then obviously I can't agree with him. So we might have a few problems. So he says, oh, okay. So I get to London, get to the hotel. I always went to bed at 9 o'clock because I had to be in the studio at 4 a.m. to go through all the footage and see what we were going to analyze. And then I've just switched the light off. My phone goes again. It's the Burnley manager, Sean Dyche. I'm thinking, how on earth does he know that Jose's coming on the show tomorrow? So I went, Dicey, how are you? And he went, have you heard what Jose is saying about my team? And I went, no, no idea. So he went, I'm not saying it wasn't a bad challenge from Ashley Barnes on Matic, as it was. But if you look at their dugout, nobody reacts. So he's basing his anger on seeing it on the video, which I didn't think was a problem. But Dicey wanted me to highlight that because that was the type of thing we did on Goals On, the reaction of the players, the therefore the managers. So I said it might be difficult. So he went, oh, okay. So I put the phone down. Next morning, obviously, Jose comes in to the show. Just before that, I went on Sky Sports News to announce our guest, Jose Mourinho. So I haven't even got my mic off my top when my phone goes again. It's Sean Dyche. He's using you. Don't stitch me up. I went, you know me better than that. But so I speak to my co-host, Ben Shepherd, and I say I'm in a difficult situation here, Shep. Jose is coming on and wants me to say he should have had two pens. He should have only had one. The other one, no, definitely not. And wants me to show the Daishi wants me to show the reaction from Jose when Ashley Barnes makes that tackle on Matic. And I said, I agree with Dicey. They didn't jump up and down in the first place. So what Dicey was saying, the reason why the referee didn't send him off, because it didn't look as bad as it was. Whereas Jose wanted to blame the referee for not doing it, but the evidence would have been their reaction by not getting up and screaming straight away. So I said to Ben, I'm in a difficult spot. So he said, leave it to me. So we normally show the guest game halfway through the program with Jose. He wanted to see his game first, and he's done us a favor by coming in. So we show it. So we go to the analysis of the game, and Jose's looking at me. Now, so Ben Shepherd says, well, what did you think of that? And he's looking at me because obviously I've agreed to him coming on by saying they should have had two penalties and Barnes should have been sent off. So he's looking at me like that. So Ben Shepherd intervened and said, look, Jose, it's a 2 hour show. If you don't say anything, we've got 2 hours in silence. So that was the key to the fuse. He carried on with a 21-minute rant. He remembered every decision that had been given against his team in the whole of his time, the names of the referees, the matches where they were played. And this is all in a language that isn't his first language. What a clever man. We just sat back and admired what it was coming out of his mouth. But of course, other people were desperate to see their games as well on the show, which is the normal. Anyway, we got so much press from him coming on, but me and Ben Shepherd, well, especially me, got slaughtered for not saying anything at all about the incident. And in fact, the Irish Times wrote, what a coup from Sky to get Jose Mourinho in the studio for goals on Sunday. The unfortunate part about it was Bert and Ernie were the presenters that day.
That's a bit harsh.
Yeah, exactly. So I said to Ben, I want to be Bert. You can be Ernie.
Brilliant. So one of the best guests then, I guess.
Oh, yeah, the best guess. But I hardly contributed to that show.
Well, it's been lovely to speak to you, Chris. And what two songs off of your albums would you like me to play on the show?
Oh, well, everybody loves Let It Snow from the first album. Um, it's absolutely brilliant. And my grandkids love Santa Claus is Coming to Town. So if you don't mind, and
No
if
problem.
you put it on your yearly list, then it would be great.
Great. Well, have a Merry Christmas, Chris.
And you too. Thank you.